The Miller family was buzzing with excitement as they packed the last of their suitcases into the car. After months of planning and saving, their long-awaited vacation was finally here. Emily and James Miller looked forward to 2 weeks away from their busy schedules, ready to relax and recharge with their 2 children, Mia and Lucas. "Don't forget to feed Max," Emily reminded the kids one last time. Max was the family's golden retriever, full of energy and affection. Thankfully, their trusted house sitter, Lisa, would be staying at the Miller home, making sure everything ran smoothly while they were away. Lisa had been a part of the Miller household for over 2 years now. Friendly, responsible, and familiar. With every nook and cranny of the house, she was more like a family friend than just a caretaker. The Millers trusted her completely. As the car pulled out of the driveway, Lisa unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The house was quiet and still, but she already felt at home. She had her own routine, watering plants, collecting mail, and taking Max for his daily walks. She settled in quickly, grateful for the chance to care for the Millers' home. Meanwhile, in another part of the neighborhood, Karen Dillard glanced down the street as she was returning from an afternoon walk. Karen had served on the HOA board for nearly 5 years and took her role seriously. She believed in maintaining the neighborhood's appearance and ensuring that everyone's property met the community's standards. That day, Karen had noticed something unusual at the Miller house. A few branches from a large oak tree leaned closer to the roof than seemed safe, especially with the storm season approaching. She worried that, if left unchecked, the branches could cause damage during high winds. Karen's concern wasn't new. She often took it upon herself to observe properties that might need attention. While some neighbors preferred to handle things privately, Karen felt it was her responsibility to ensure the neighborhood stayed safe and beautiful. She paused on the sidewalk in front of the Miller house, looking up at the branches. "Have to mention this at the next HOA meeting," she muttered to herself. But as she stood there, a thought crossed her mind. What if she checked inside the house first? Maybe she could alert someone immediately if she saw any urgent problems. The idea planted itself firmly in Karen's mind. Without making a call or sending a message, she walked toward the front door. The porch light was off, but the door was slightly ajar. It wasn't locked out. Lisa, upstairs in the guest room, heard the door creak open. Her heart skipped a beat. Oh, she wasn't expecting anyone. And the last thing she expected was Karen, known in the neighborhood for her strict oversight, to walk in unannounced. Lisa hurried downstairs, her steps quiet but purposeful. As she reached the living room, she found Karen calmly looking around, inspecting the interior as if she belonged there. "Excuse me," Lisa said firmly but politely. "Can I help you?" Karen turned, her expression steady. "I'm Karen from the HOA. I noticed some branches leaning near your roof and thought it best to check inside. Just to be sure everything's all right." Lisa frowned, surprised. "I appreciate your concern, but the Millers are on vacation and I'm their house sitter. I wasn't expecting any visits today." Kira nodded, seemingly unfazed. "I understand, but I'm responsible for looking out for the neighborhood's safety." It seemed urgent. Lisa's unease grew. While Karen's intentions seemed genuine, Lisa wasn't comfortable with an unannounced entry. "If there's something urgent, I can contact the Millers or the HOA board directly. But I need to make sure no one enters the house without permission." Karen sighed. "I just wanted to help." Lisa kept her tone calm but resolute. "I'll be contacting the authorities if necessary to make sure this is handled properly." Karen looked surprised, then thoughtful. Lisa's response was firm, signaling that this situation wasn't as simple as a friendly neighborhood check. The moment hung between them, charged with the unexpected tension of a boundary being tested. Outside, the quiet street held its breath, unaware that the day's calm was about to shift in ways no one expected. Lisa stood firmly in the living room, her eyes steady on Karen. The sudden intrusion unsettled her, but she knew she had to stay calm. After all, she was responsible for the Millers' home while they were away. and making sure it remained safe and secure was her top priority. Karen, still standing near the entrance, looked around once more. The polished wooden floors, the neatly arranged furniture, and the soft hum of the air conditioning showed the house was well cared for. Yet her focus remained on the large oak tree visible through the window, its branches swaying gently in the breeze. "I'm sorry if this seems abrupt," Karen said. "But with the storm warnings lately, I worry about potential damage. Those branches were to break, they could cause a lot of trouble." Lisa nodded, understanding the concern but still wary of the unexpected visit. "I understand your worries, but entering someone's home without clear permission can cause misunderstandings. The Millers would want us to respect their space." Karen folded her arms, a trace of frustration flickering across her face. "I'm only trying to protect everyone here." Just then, Lisa's phone vibrated in her pocket. She glanced down in incoming message from Emily Miller. "Everything's fine so far," it read. The message reminded Lisa that the Millers trusted her judgment and expected her to take good care of the house. Taking a deep breath, Lisa decided to stay firm, yet polite. "If you want to report the branches or other concerns, I suggest contacting the HOA board or the Millers directly. This way, everyone is informed properly." Karen hesitated. "I thought I could just step in and help. I didn't want to wait." Lisa nodded again. Sometimes waiting is important, especially when it comes to people's homes. The room was quiet for a moment, tension lingering between them. Karen shifted, then said, "Maybe I should call the HOA president and explain this situation." "That would be a good idea," Lisa replied, just as Karen reached for her phone. Lisa quietly dialed 911 on her own device. She didn't want the situation to escalate or be misunderstood. Having the police verify the circumstances would ensure clarity and safety for all involved. Karen noticed the call and paused, a hint of surprise in her eyes. "Are you calling the police?" Lisa answered calmly. "I want to make sure everything is handled the right way." Within minutes, 2 police officers arrived at the Miller residence. They approached the house with measured steps, noting the quiet atmosphere but ready to listen carefully. Lisa met them at the door and explained the situation, her role as the house sitter, Karen's unexpected entry, and her concerns about the proper boundaries for property access. Karen stood nearby, ready to share her perspective. "I'm a member of the HOA board. I noticed a potential hazard and thought I should check inside to prevent damage. I didn't mean to overstep." Officer Ramirez nodded. "We understand your intention, ma'am, but entering someone's home without permission can lead to serious issues. It's important to follow proper procedures." Karen looked thoughtful. "I see that now." Officer Lopez turned to Lisa. "You did the right thing by contacting us. It's important everyone feels safe in their home." The officers took notes and explained to Karen that while her intentions were commendable, future concerns should be handled through communication with homeowners or the HOA board, not through unannounced visits. Karen apologized sincerely. "I only wanted to help, but I realize I should have handled it differently." Lisa appreciated the apology, but remained firm on maintaining boundaries. "I'm glad this was resolved calmly. The Millers appreciate your concern, but their privacy is important." As the officers prepared to leave, Karen and Lisa exchanged a look that spoke of mutual understanding, if cautious and newly formed. Outside, the afternoon sun continued to cast warm light over the quiet street. The incident was over for now, but the neighborhood would soon be buzzing with the news of what had happened behind closed doors. Lisa returned to her duties with a sense of relief, knowing she had handled a delicate situation with care. Karen, meanwhile, walked back down the sidewalk, deep in thought about how to better serve the neighborhood in the future. The unexpected visit had sparked more than just concern about tree branches. It had opened a door to conversations about respect, boundaries, and what it truly meant to look out for one another. The police had left, but the quiet that settled over the Miller home was tinged with a new kind of tension. Lisa returned to her routine, but she couldn't shake the unease that lingered after Karen's unexpected visit. She sat down at the kitchen table and took a deep breath, pulling out her phone. The conversation she'd just had with Karen replayed in her mind, well-intentioned. Yet out of line, her fingers hovered over the screen. Should she call Emily and James to tell them exactly what had happened? They had trusted her with their home, and honesty was important. Lisa tapped out a message. "Hi Emily, just wanted to update you. Someone from the HOA entered the house without notice today. Police came and everything's fine now, but I wanted you to know." Minutes later, Emily replied, "Thank you for telling me. That's unexpected, but good to hear everything's okay." Lisa felt relieved. At least the Millers were aware, and she wouldn't be keeping secrets that evening. As the sun dipped behind the trees, Lisa heard a knock at the front door. She opened it to find Mrs. Lopez, a neighbor from 2 houses down. "I heard what happened," Mrs. Lopez said softly. "Are you all right?" Lisa smiled warmly. "I'm fine, thank you. It was surprising, but I handled it." The police came, and Karen apologized. Mrs. Lopez nodded thoughtfully. Karen can be a bit overzealous, but she means well. Still, she could have handled it differently, Lisa agreed. Respecting privacy is important. Want to make sure the Millers' home feels safe. The news of the incident spread quickly throughout Willow Glen. Residents whispered about the unexpected visit, and opinions varied. Some admired Karen's dedication to the neighborhood's appearance and safety. Others questioned the appropriateness of her actions. At the next HOA meeting, the topic came up early on the agenda. Karen stood before the group, her expression serious. "I want to apologize for my recent actions at the Miller property," she began. "My intent was to protect the neighborhood, but I recognize now that entering the home without permission was a mistake." The room was quiet, but a few nods showed appreciation for her honesty. Evan Blake, longtime resident and HOA board member, spoke up. "Karen's passion for the neighborhood is undeniable. But this incident reminds us all about the importance of respecting boundaries." Another resident added, "We need clearer guidelines on property checks and communication. This could have been avoided." Karen listened carefully, taking in the feedback. It was clear that, while her intentions were appreciated, her approach needed adjustment. Meanwhile, Lisa continued her duties at the Miller home, often reflecting on the delicate balance between safety and respect. She made notes about the incident, tending to share her perspective with the Millers when they returned. Back at the Miller family's vacation spot, Emily and James discussed the message Lisa had sent. "It's unsettling to think someone entered our home without telling us," Emily said quietly. James nodded. "But I'm glad Lisa handled it well and that the police got involved. We can talk with the HOA when we get back." As the days passed, the neighborhood slowly returned to its usual rhythm. Yet, beneath the surface, conversations about privacy, trust, and neighborly respect continued. Lisa appreciated the support from neighbors like Mrs. Lopez and felt reassured by the community's willingness to address the situation openly. Karen, too, was reflecting on her role. She had always wanted to help, and now she understood the importance of communication and consent. The experience sparked a shift, one that would encourage the HOA and residents to find better ways to work together. For Lisa, the incident was a reminder that sometimes the right thing to do means standing firm and seeking help when needed. As the Miller family's vacation continued, the house sitter kept watch with renewed confidence, ready to protect the home entrusted to her care, but with a clearer understanding of how to respect the delicate lines between concern and intrusion. The quiet neighborhood streets suddenly buzzed with activity as the police officers pulled up to the Miller residence. Officer Ramirez and Officer Lopez stepped out of their patrol car, their demeanor calm but alert. They were here to investigate a report of an unannounced entry, a situation that required sensitivity and clarity. Lisa met the officers at the door, her expression steady but respectful. "Thank you for coming so quickly," she said. I wasn't sure how to handle the situation when Karen entered the home without any notice. Officer Ramirez nodded. You did the right thing by calling us. We want to make sure everyone's rights are respected and that any concerns are handled properly. As the officers stepped inside, Karen, who had been waiting outside on the sidewalk, was invited to join them for a conversation. The three adults gathered in the living room, the atmosphere tense but civil. Officer Lopez began, Karen, can you tell us what led you to enter the Miller home today? Karen took a breath, gathering her thoughts. I'm on the HOA board, and I've always been attentive to the neighborhood's safety and appearance. I noticed that some branches of the oak tree were hanging dangerously close to the roof, especially with storm season coming. I worried that if they broke during a storm, they could cause serious damage. She paused, meeting the officer's eyes. I thought it would be best to check inside to see if there was any immediate risk or damage. Officer Ramirez listened carefully, then asked, did you attempt to contact the homeowners or the HOA board before entering? Karen shook her head. No, I didn't. I thought I was doing the right thing by acting quickly. Officer Lopez explained, we understand your concern. But it's important to remember that entering someone's home without permission can create legal issues. It's also about respecting privacy. In situations like this, it's best to notify homeowners or coordinate with the HOA to ensure proper communication. Karen nodded slowly, absorbing the information. I see that now. I didn't consider the full implications of my actions. Turning to Lisa, Officer Ramirez said, and you're the house sitter, Lisa replied. I've been entrusted by the Millers to care for the home while they're away. Were you aware anyone from the HOA would be entering the house? Officer Lopez asked. Lisa shook her head. No, it was completely unexpected. I was concerned about the unannounced entry, which is why I called for assistance. The officers then conducted a quick walkthrough of the house, checking the area near the oak tree and inspecting for any visible damage. Everything appeared in order, no broken branches. No immediate safety hazards. Officer Ramirez summarized. There's no urgent danger to the property at this time. We recommend Karen and the HOA follow established procedures for property concerns in the future. Karen spoke again, her voice sincere. I apologize for any distress I caused. I only wanted to help protect the neighborhood. Officer Lopez smiled gently. We appreciate that. Moving forward, clear communication will help avoid misunderstandings and keep everyone comfortable. Before leaving, the officers advised Lisa on what to do if any future concerns arose, and encouraged Karen to share the guidance with her HOA board. As the patrol car pulled away, Karen stayed on the porch, reflecting on the day's events. Realized that her desire to protect the neighborhood, while genuine, had overlooked important boundaries and protocols. Lisa returned to her tasks inside the house, feeling a mix of relief and cautious optimism. The police had clarified the situation and the homeowners had been informed. Still, she knew the incident would be a topic of conversation for some time. Outside, neighbors began to notice the police presence and the gathering at the Miller house. Whispered questions and curious glances followed as the news traveled quickly from door to door. Some neighbors saw Karen's actions as a sign of dedication, while others felt the need for better guidelines to ensure respect and transparency. Karen resolved to speak at the next HOA meeting to share her side of the story and to listen to residents' feedback. She understood that leadership wasn't just about taking action, but also about building trust. The day's experience was a turning point, not just for Karen and Lisa, but for the neighborhood as a whole, a reminder that protecting a community meant more than rules. It meant respect, communication, and care. As the evening settled in, the Miller home returned to its peaceful state. Yet the lessons learned that afternoon would influence the way neighbors interacted for months to come. The news of the unexpected visit by Karen, the HOA board member, quickly spread throughout the neighborhood of Willow Glen. Word traveled faster than the gentle summer breeze that rustled through the oaks lining the streets. Within hours, neighbors were sharing their thoughts and opinions, some over the fence, others on front porches, and many through texts and calls. At the Jenkins house, 2 doors down. Sarah and Tom sat sipping iced tea on their porch swing. Sarah shook her head thoughtfully. I heard what happened at the Miller's house. Can you believe Karen just walked right in without knocking? Tom took a slow sip before answering. I don't know, Sarah. Karen means well. She's always been the one reminding us about keeping the lawns tidy and the trees trimmed. She probably thought she was helping. Sarah frowned. Helping is one thing, but respect for privacy is another. Imagine if someone did that to us while we were away. Across the street, Mr. Patel was recounting the event to his wife as they watered their garden. I understand Karen's concern about the tree branches. Storms can be serious, he said. But there should be a better way to handle it. This kind of thing can make people uncomfortable. His wife nodded. Maybe this will lead to clearer rules for the HOA. It's important we all feel safe in our homes. Meanwhile, Lisa had been fielding calls and messages from other neighbors curious about the incident. Many expressed support for her handling of the situation and concern about boundaries. One neighbor, Mrs. Lopez, stopped by with a plate of cookies. I wanted to check in and see how you're doing after all that, she said warmly. It must have been stressful. Lisa smiled gratefully. Thank you. It was unexpected, but I'm glad it was handled calmly. I just want to make sure that Miller's home stays safe and respected. The incident became a topic of conversation at the local coffee shop, where residents gathered each morning. Some sympathized with Karen's intentions, while others saw it as a reminder that even good intentions can lead to awkward situations. Jacob, a young father and recent arrival to the neighborhood, voiced a sentiment many shared. It's tricky, isn't it? We want to look out for each other, but it has to be done the right way. Privacy matters. By the next evening, the HOA board had called a special meeting to address the concerns raised by the community. The room was filled with familiar faces, residents eager to hear Karen's explanation and to discuss how to move forward. Karen stood at the front, her usual confident posture tempered with humility. I want to sincerely apologize to the Millers and everyone here. My actions were driven by a genuine concern for safety, but I understand now that I overstepped. She paused, then added, I believe we all want the same thing, neighborhood that's safe, beautiful, and respectful. I'm committed to working with all of you to make sure our actions reflect that. Several residents spoke up. Some praised Karen's dedication, while others emphasized the need for clear communication and respect for personal space. Evan Blake, an HOA board member with years of experience, offered a thoughtful perspective. This incident highlights the importance of having clear guidelines. We should create a process for reporting and handling concerns that involves homeowners and caretakers before anyone takes action on someone else's property. The board agreed to draft updated policies focusing on transparency, communication, and mutual respect. Training sessions and informational materials would be provided to all HOA members. As the meeting concluded, neighbors felt a renewed sense of community and understanding. The incident had sparked an important conversation, one that reminded everyone that caring for a neighborhood meant more than rules. It meant listening, respecting, and working together. Lisa left the meeting feeling hopeful. She knew the Millers would appreciate the efforts to improve communication, and she felt reassured that future situations would be handled with greater sensitivity. Karen, too, felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She was determined to rebuild trust and contribute positively to Willow Glen, not just as an HOA board member, but as a neighbor. Back at the Miller home, the oak tree stood tall and calm, its branches gently swaying in the evening breeze. The storm season was approaching, but with clear boundaries and a spirit of cooperation. The neighborhood was prepared to face whatever came their way, dashed together. In the days following the special HOA meeting, Willow Glen buzzed with a renewed sense of purpose. The discussions about the recent incident had opened a door that many residents hadn't realized was slightly ajar. The door to clearer communication, mutual respect, and community trust. Karen, feeling the weight of her earlier misstep reached out to Emily Miller directly. She wanted to apologize in person and assure the Millers that she was committed to making things right. Emily welcomed the visit, appreciating Karen's effort. "Thank you for coming by, Karen," Emily said as she and Karen sat in the Millers' sunny kitchen. "It means a lot that you reached out." Karen nodded, her voice sincere. "I truly regret the way I handled things. I realize now that even with the best intentions, it's crucial to respect homeowners' privacy. I want to work with you and the HOA to prevent anything like this from happening again." Emily smiled warmly. "We understand your concern for the neighborhood's safety, and we want to see that too. Communication is the key." Inspired by the meeting and her conversation with the Millers, Karen began collaborating closely with other HOA board members. Together, they drafted a comprehensive policy focused on property checks and communication protocols. The new guidelines emphasized 3 core principles: respect, transparency, and collaboration. Homeowners and renters alike would receive clear information about who to contact with concerns, how requests would be handled, and the boundaries regarding property access. One section outlined procedures for tree maintenance and other exterior property issues, including scheduled inspections conducted only with prior homeowner consent. Another section introduced an HOA communication platform, an online portal where residents could submit concerns, track progress, and receive updates without confusion. The board also planned educational workshops, inviting experts to speak about neighborhood safety, homeowner rights, and effective communication strategies. Karen took a leading role in organizing these initiatives, hoping her experience would serve as a learning moment for the entire community. Meanwhile, Lisa continued to care for the Miller home with renewed confidence. She appreciated the new clarity the HOA provided, and it made her role as house sitter easier and more comfortable. One afternoon, as Lisa trimmed some potted plants on the front porch, a neighbor stopped by. It was Mr. Patel, who had been a quiet but thoughtful presence during recent events. "Lisa," he said kindly, "I wanted to thank you for the way you handled everything. It wasn't easy, but you stayed calm and professional." Lisa smiled. "Thank you, Mr. Patel. I just wanted to do the right thing for the Millers and for the neighborhood." "Sometimes," he added thoughtfully, "it's those calm moments that help a community grow stronger." The neighborhood seemed to embrace that growth. Conversations shifted from speculation to solutions, and from frustration to understanding. At the next monthly HOA meeting, the board presented the finalized policies and introduced the new communication platform. Residents showed enthusiasm, many expressing relief that the community was moving forward together. Karen addressed the group. "We all want a safe, beautiful neighborhood where everyone feels respected. I'm grateful for your feedback and support as we work to strengthen our connections." Emily Miller, who attended the meeting via video call while on a business trip, shared her thoughts. "The changes being made give us peace of mind. It's reassuring to know the HOA is listening and adapting." By the end of the evening, the atmosphere was one of hope and cooperation. In the weeks that followed, small but meaningful gestures began to weave new threads into the fabric of Willow Glen. Neighbors checked in on one another, volunteers organized yard cleanups, and new friendships blossomed over shared goals. Karen, once viewed with mixed feelings, became known as a leader willing to listen and learn. Lisa, in her role as house sitter, felt a growing connection to the neighborhood. Even though she was only a temporary guardian of the Miller's home, the oak tree outside stood tall, its branches steady and cared for, a living symbol of the neighborhood's resilience and commitment to growth through challenges and conversations. Willow Glen had found a new path forward, one grounded in trust, respect, and community spirit. And in that path, every neighbor, every voice, and every story mattered. As the weeks passed in Willow Glen, the neighborhood began to settle into a rhythm that felt different, more open, more understanding, and more connected. What had started as a tense and uncomfortable incident had sparked a transformation, and People were noticing. Karen found herself receiving unexpected support from neighbors she hadn't spoken to much before. One afternoon, while pruning a communal garden area near the community center, Mrs. Lopez approached her with a warm smile. "I just wanted to say, Karen, I've seen how much effort you're putting into making things better," she said. "It's not easy admitting a mistake, but you've done it gracefully. That means a lot." Karen smiled, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. "Thank you, Mrs. Lopez. I'm learning that being a part of this community is about listening as much as doing." Meanwhile, Lisa, who had continued to look after the Miller's home, felt a sense of calm she hadn't expected. The new HOA policies meant she no longer worried about unexpected visits or unclear rules. And with the neighbors more engaged and communicative, the whole neighborhood felt safer. One morning, Lisa ran into Jacob, the young father who had been vocal about balancing safety and privacy. They exchanged greetings and soon found themselves talking about the benefits of a close-knit community. "I'm glad things are improving," Jacob said. "I was worried about moving here, but it seems like Willow Glen is ready to grow in the right way." Lisa nodded. "It's a journey for all of us." "I think the neighborhood's willingness to listen is what will make the biggest difference." Karen had been reflecting a lot too. She realized that her role on the HOA board wasn't just about enforcement or oversight. It was about connection. And connection required humility. One evening, she sat on her porch with a journal, writing down lessons learned and ideas for how to continue fostering a positive environment. She wrote, "Leadership is not just about being heard. It's about hearing others even when it's difficult. I want to be a part of solutions, not just rules." As she wrote, a soft breeze rustled the leaves above, reminding her of the oak tree incident that had started it all. The tree still stood strong, proof that with care and patience, growth was possible even after rough weather. In the weeks that followed, Karen organized neighborhood gatherings focused on community building, barbecues, potlucks, and workshops where residents shared skills and stories. These events brought people together in new ways, breaking down walls that had lingered before. At one such event, Emily Miller returned from her trip and stopped by to thank Lisa in person. "Thank you for everything you did while we were away," Emily said warmly. "It was a relief knowing the house was in good hands, especially with everything that happened." Lisa smiled. "It was an honor. I feel like I've become part of this neighborhood, even temporarily." Emily nodded. "Maybe next time you can join one of our community potlucks." The neighborhood's collective spirit continued to strengthen. The new HOA policies, the open communication, and the shared experiences had shifted the atmosphere. Residents who once hesitated to speak up now felt empowered. Those who had felt isolated found new friendships. Karen noticed that even her own perspective had evolved. She no longer saw her role as simply maintaining order, but as nurturing community. One afternoon, she received a message from Evan Blake, the HOA board member who had spoken at the meeting weeks ago. "I wanted to say I'm proud of how you've handled everything," Evan wrote. "It takes courage to change and grow, and you're doing it." Karen replied, "Thank you, Evan. It's been a learning experience, but I'm grateful for the support." The message was a small reminder that growth was rarely a solo journey, was woven through connections and shared efforts as summer turned toward fall. The oak tree outside the Miller home continued to stand tall. Its branches reached wide and steady, a silent witness to the neighborhood's journey. For Karen, Lisa, and the residents of Willow Glen, the story was no longer just about a mistake or an unexpected visit. It was about the power of understanding, forgiveness, and the shared commitment to building a place they all could call home. Months had passed since the unexpected incident that had sent ripples through Willow Glen. What once was a moment of tension and uncertainty had blossomed into a turning point, a new chapter for the neighborhood where respect, communication, and community spirit were no longer just ideals, but lived realities. Karen stood at the front of the community center, preparing to address the neighborhood's annual gathering. This time, the room was filled not with skepticism or unease, but with eager faces. Neighbors who had come to listen, learn, and celebrate their shared progress. Taking a deep breath, Karen began. When I first joined the HOA board, I thought leadership meant enforcing rules and keeping things in order. But I've learned it's so much more. It's about listening, understanding, and growing together. The audience nodded, many recalling the journey they had taken together. Lisa sat near the back, watching the crowd with a quiet smile, as though her time as the Millers' house sitter was coming to an end. She felt deeply connected to the community she had come to know. Karen continued. The experience with the Miller home was difficult, but it showed us the importance of communication and trust. Thanks to your feedback and collaboration, we've created policies that honor both safety and privacy. Applause filled the room. The new HOA communication platform had already made it easier for neighbors to share concerns and ideas, and the workshops had helped everyone feel more empowered. Emily Miller, joining via video call from out of town, spoke next. I'm grateful for how our neighborhood has grown stronger. Knowing that my home is respected and cared for means everything. After the formal part of the meeting, neighbors mingled, sharing stories and plans for upcoming community events. The spirit of cooperation was palpable. Later that evening, Karen walked home under a sky painted with stars. The oak tree near the Miller house caught her eye, its branches silhouetted against the moonlight. It was still strong, much like the neighborhood itself. She thought back to the early days, when a single decision had sparked a cascade of emotions. The lessons learned had shaped not only policies but relationships. Karen realized that the true strength of Willow Glen wasn't just in the houses or the neatly trimmed lawns. It was in the people, their willingness to listen, to forgive, and to grow together. The next morning, Karen received a message from Lisa. It was a photo of the oak tree, sunlight filtering through its leaves, accompanied by the simple words, "Here's to growth in every form." Karen smiled. She knew that the neighborhood story was far from over. There would be new challenges, new conversations, and new opportunities to come together. But for now, Willow Glen was a community transformed, a place where every neighbor had a voice and every story mattered, and that was a home worth protecting.